I'm late. I'm late. I also didn't turn the music up. Whoops. Almost there. Oh. Nom nom nom. Good to see my microphone is working. It also looks like Restream is cooperating. That's cool. Oh. I restarted all of my computers and I'm getting the bot up and running. I'm getting the LLM running. I'm getting my stream monitor running. I'll change this to say soon. Hopefully we don't have the same funny business to happen on Monday's stream and Friday's stream. Why did you open over here? Okay, connect to that. Load the model. It came me down because that song is something else. Oh, Belinda. All right, everything is loaded. I should be good to go. Hello, 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 and welcome to another One Lion of Code. I am One Lion, and this is Wednesday, a Wednesday stream, which is just a normal work day for me. I hope you guys are enjoying your day so far, having a great one. I am slowly getting there. I got a lot done this morning, though. One of the main things is I finished resolving 2 issues. Now that I say that, I need to update the web app that is published to the latest version of the NuGet library of the data import library that I just finished getting built and published. So let's get that updated. Cool. Loading. I guess while I'm doing this, I can tell you what I did. So the the only user of the app contacted me and told me about 2 things. One, they weren't able to load a template that they had created before, and we saw that that was because of the way that the comparison found the field names and the types and all that stuff. So I set that up to work differently to find the templates. And the second thing was that they weren't able to whoa, what's going to happen when this hits 1,000? Are we going to have a 4-digit number on the end? I don't know what to do about that. So the second thing was that they wanted to be able to map from an empty string or a null value to some other value in the transformation step, in the mapping transformation. And I'll show you what I mean by that once I get this updated. Speaking of getting it updated, probably should do this in main. I'm going to do this in main. Not in main, in a branch off of main. How am I still on main? I'm so confused because I'm done with all of the work in this one. We need to pick up the next work item for this project. It's hard switching between the two projects because they feel like they're the same project because they kind of are, but I separated out the data file reading part and the ability to transform input files from this because I want to open source that portion of it. And then this is the specific thing that's relevant to our organization thing. What do I call it? Our site. Or. Okay. So I'm creating a branch to update, and I should create a work item for this. I don't know if you guys do, but just to update a NuGet package, kind of don't want to. As a solo developer, I get to have that freedom. Freedom's a good word. Update, import library NuGet. Dream. Oh, bikini. We should probably test this out too. So while I test this out, I can show you what exactly I did, what change I made. What a nice day. I hope it's just as nice for you guys as it is for me. It's a very, very nice feeling day. And I know it's just my perspective, but it feels nice. What? Transform operations namespace doesn't exist. Right, you're right. Because I renamed that to transform value transformations, I want to say. Can you tell me? No. Nobody can tell me. Here we go. You'll be able to tell me. No! Do I have the project open? It kind of looks like I have the project open, so it'll be fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. We're fine. It's fine. What did I rename it to? C. Value transformations. Yay! I remembered a thing all by myself. I had to look it up, but I still remembered it. Okay, do this everywhere, please. Now try build. Right. Dang it. And the other thing is that they are no longer called operation for the enums that are generated. They are now called transformation. But it does look like there are very few, so I should be able to just change them from substring operation to substring transformation and interpolate operation to interpolate transformation. Cool. Substring operation, substring transformation, interpolate operation, and interpolate transformation. Do the thing. Yes. Okay, what do you say now? Can we build? There is no operation detail in value transformation base because that's now called transformation detail. I don't want to do that everywhere because I think that the conditional operation has an operation detail. So I didn't want to just rename all operation detail to transformation detail. Did it build? Oh, I'm waiting for it to build. Okay, so now we can run it. Let me make sure this is my active browser. Oh, itchy. Oh. Let me turn this to biggest mode too. Maybe we'll get some more colorful colors on my face. I love colorful colors. Hi, DC Aggie. Your hair isn't any shorter. I had braced for a shock and I'm instead shocked by a lack of shock. It'll be soon. I don't exactly know when. It needs to be soon because I want it to grow out again by July. Just because it's easier to... It's weird. Long hair is harder to maintain and stuff. It's just easier to not cut. My hair, it takes about... Even if my hair is shorter than this, it still takes me about 30 minutes to an hour just to trim it all to the same size. And that's just time I don't feel like using on trimming my hair. But on top of that, it's kind of easier to have my hair not be weird. Does that make sense? And so I'm gonna be in public in July, which is... Shouldn't have thought of that. I'm gonna be in public in July, out and about for about an entire week, and it's just gonna be easier to control my hair surprisingly when it's longer. Because when it's shorter, I get these weird little cowlick things, and it's just odd. Okay. So here is some new functionality that this does. It's so weird because I really don't... My secret weapon is a baseball cap. I used to wear a, I don't know what they're called. The hats with the full brim, but it's not like a cowboy brim. It's not the flat brim. I don't know what they're called. I don't even know how to search for it. Are they called bowlers? Let's see. No. The brim. No, I suck at searching for stuff on stream. These kind accept... They're called wide brim hats. I don't know how to search for this. List of hat styles. Oh, it was definitely this. This. I used to wear balaclavas all the time. I used to be a ninja. Bucket hat. They're called bucket hats, which just sounds terrible. So anyway, I used to wear bucket hats all the time. I wore these kinds of hats. And my hair looked like this inside of the hat. I look like a weeb. It's funny because apparently people that look like me or that I slightly resemble like to wear these types of hats. Little Buddy is your name from now on. And in fact, this is not the one that I used to wear. That one's denim. Oh, it was a lot floppier. Was it really square on the top like that? It could have been this one. Yeah. It really could have been that one. So I used to have one of these that I wore all the time. And a black one, and ooh, actually, can I prove it? Why are things not in the place that I originally remember them being? I can't prove it. I can't prove it, but that's okay. I don't need to. Right? All right. Moving on. So here's the new functionality, or the new ability, I guess, that we enabled for the mapping rule, as well as what we did for the upload, or for the template discovery, the user template discovery. So I created a template using a file where the field names match, but the field types don't match. This file, and I have one that was created specifically on this file. Are we doing this again? Let's not do this. A listener. Did you stop running? I bet you the app is no longer running. Nope, we have a JSON exception again. Not again. Unhandled exception. Oh gosh. No. I was not thinking that. That was a bad push. I renamed the enum Vague Boast. My code is very exceptional. Yes. I don't think I should answer this. It's not coming in as spam. Hold on, this could be work. Hey, your name is Humberto Cruz. You must speak Spanish fluently. Actually, I suck at Spanish. I can understand it pretty well, but I cannot speak it back to you. Okay, so here's the thing that's happening. I have the enums because of the source generator, because of the updates that we're making to the conditional conditioning of the conditionals. And that, oh, what am I looking for? Oh, good grief. I shouldn't have answered the phone. We'll be fine though. So instead of operation, all of my enums have this transformation suffix. And the issue with this is that in the database, I'm glad I was running this app before pushing and publishing the app. In the database, the way that I am storing the field mappings is by serializing the list of field mappings and storing it as JSON. The issue with that is if I rename a property or if I add a property or anything of the sort to something that I'm using in the field mapping, it's not going to be able to deserialize, and that's what happened here. So if we view data, nope. Target mappable field mapping. Okay, this is what I was trying to query. So in the field mapping table, here is my mapping definition, and here you can see that the mapping rule. I think this one. Let's take a look at this. JSON grid. Mapping rule, source field transformations, value transformation. It's not. Dang it. We need a rule that has a source field transformation that is not empty or default. And I'm going to concatenate all these. Square bracket, u equals u and comma and u all the way down to the bottom and curly brace as I push the wrong botones. Close bracket. Tissue. I need tissue. About to sneeze. Maybe I can stop it. No sneeze. We good? I don't need to sneeze. We're good without sneezing. Bad string. Square bracket. All the things she said. Close the object, open the object. Click to see more. Here. Okay. That's right. One of these. What's wrong with this line? I don't I don't see why you are failing. Let's split you here. We're good. Is it these? Yeah, let's see if it's that one in specific. We'll keep splitting these until we find the issue. Actually, you know what? I could just separate it. Oops. There. This will help us find it. All right, 225, unexpected closing square bracket. I don't know why it was angry at that first one. Whatever. All right, so the thing that we're looking for is any source field transformation that has a value transformation, which should be easy to spot. Here's one. Interpolate operations. So here is where the issue is. All of these that are using the enum member name colon something operation are no longer going to be valid because these are now called something transformation. It would have been nice if I serialized it using the numeric value. The issue with that is if I change the enum in code, then the numeric value would no longer be associated with that specific enum. So here I changed the enum member name in code, and that is no longer matching. So I ran into the same issue that I would have run into if I just used the number. Dang it. Wow, thank you so much for the raid. Holy cow. You shouldn't be getting ads because I turned on the pre-roll. Or I disabled pre-rolls by doing an ad at the beginning of the stream. Anyway, welcome in. Hello. Is it Ozor? Is it Ozor? Is it Oz? Do I just call you Or? Anyway, welcome in. What were you doing on your stream? Oh, it is Ozor. Nice. Nice. Ozor. What was your stream? What was your stream about? What do you do? Welcome in. I will introduce myself after I hear about you. You're doing .NET. Awesome. Insta follow. Insta follow from me. And the shout out to you. Blazor Tailwind CSS. Are you more front end on purpose, or is it just that it's something that you've needed to do? Because we could surely use front end oriented people on this channel in our community. The majority of us are also .NET developers that frequent this community. You're a full stack as well. Cool. Do you have a focal point? Because I was going to say most of us are, yeah, exactly that. most of us .NET developers that hang out and frequent this stream are full stack developers that strongly prefer either the functional programming part, not like functional Lambda, that stuff, like the thing that makes the application tick and work. You click a button and then you do all of this stuff behind the scenes very elegantly, very cleanly, You structure your code and it does stuff like TBD, for example. And then we all just kind of, or love the database work. Et voila. The domain is my happy place. DDD. Nice. And welcome on in, Ergazia. You've been here before. But yeah, once my shout out cooldown thingy is finished, I will shout out TBD, because TBD is also a .NET developer. He's working on a large system called Liquid Sky currently. It does have an actual name, but project code named Liquid Sky. He's hoping to make it a product someday, and if not, it's a great experience that he's been able to have working in all of these really cool technologies. For me, I am showing my day job. I'm doing my day job on stream as a solo full stack developer that is contracted to work with an organization at the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge, and all of the tools and apps that I am working on and maintaining are geared around environmental cleanup, environmental compliance, and monitoring, and yeah, mostly that. This specific tool that I'm working on now is all about being able to take any semi-structured CSV or Excel file, transform it into something that our database can store, and then running all of the tests and QC checks and all of that stuff on the data that whatever lab, these are all lab results for doing chemical analysis on soil and water and air samples that we send to them, and they give us back the results. And so this is how we're going to upload them into our database. And it is, of course, .NET. Blazor, I don't use any CSS libraries currently. I started using .NET in around 2013, and I was doing ASP Classic in around 2009, and then it was Java and VB and VB6, VBA and VB6 before that, going all the way back to about 1998, I think. So I started doing Java in 2000 when I started university. Anyway, that's me. That's who I am. And Kenny is here. Okay, so I have shout outs to do. Let's do TBD's, since I said I would do his. So once again, TBD Gamer is a .NET dev that is working with a whole bunch of different types of technologies like Kafka, like message queue stuff, like Angular for his front end. But he is a .NET developer. And then on Mondays and Fridays, he streams another project, an open source project called developers.stream, which is going to be a platform that will allow you to register yourself on this platform as a developer who streams. And if we see you in any of our streams, then we could just access the API for it, find out if you're a developer who streams, and then get whatever information you put on there to shout you out if we so felt like. And Canny Dev, who I will also shout out shortly, is a game app, multi-talented everything developer working on a Twitch bot, on a game, on just millions and billions of super smart things that he works on. Does everything that you can imagine. So definitely check out Kenny. Amazing game developer. I'm still going to call you predominantly a game developer since you work mostly in game engines that I could tell, but you also have a ton of other skills. So are we cooled down? Can we shout out Candy Dev? DVD. So yes, I work in game engines, but last game is half a year ago. Yes, and there's the shout out for Candy Streams. So welcome in, Oazor. Oazor. Oh, Oazor. Um, I'm going to continue on with what I was doing. So the most recent thing that I did is part of the application, as I was mentioning, is to be able to take in a file and specify how to map the fields from that file to the fields our database is expecting. And what I recently did is I changed the way that I changed the naming of some classes. And those classes are used by a source generator to generate enums. And those enums are stored as part of a JSON value to the database when I'm saving that field mapping as a template. So it would have been smarter if I had been storing only the value. Like, the thing that I really want to get to is that all of those field mappings are stored as database records and not as JSON. That would be the best thing. But I didn't set it up that way because it was a lot easier to just JSON serialize them, because these field mappings, they're actually, let's see the JSON grid version of this. The shape of the field mappings depends on the mapping rule that is inside of it. So this could be a relational table. This mapping rule could be a navigation property that sends us to the mapping rule. The issue is that the mapping rule would take a different shape based on which type of rule it is. So a combined fields rule, for example, has, no, let's go to substring. A substring rule, which I don't have any, has a couple more fields than the typical copy rule, for example. So it would have a int max characters and an int start index, for example. So then I would need to make the decision, do I have a separate table for additional properties, additional parameters? And if I do, how am I supposed to know that if I see a substring rule, then also go to the navigation table for additional properties to get the max length or starting index? So at the moment, because initially I was in a pretty big rush to get this done, so that the users can start importing the lab data, I just went with, let's serialize the whole thing and make that decision later. We can always transform the data afterwards. That said, this value transformation here, called interpolate transformation, oops, I must have manually updated that. Interpolate operation no longer exists in my code base because the source generator is now calling that interpolate operation. Okay, so what I was getting at earlier is that I could have stored this as the enum value, but there would be a potential for me to change the order of these, for example. I think currently it's being sorted by name, and that's how the enum values are being added. But I do remember having a field for enum member order, which is essentially the enum member value. And I kind of remember telling the source generator to first sort by enum member order, then by name, in case there are multiples that use the same enum member order. Okay, anyway, point is that we still have this issue in the database. So what I would need to do is write a script that will update the field mapping table, mapping definition. Update field mapping set mapping definition equals, and I would need to replace Joyfler with Joyfler, or mapping definition like Joyfler. I mean, this is close. This is close. So we're changing operation with transformation. Oops, I'm trying to save that. Okay. Is that going to work? Let's look at the rest of this structure real quick. Is there anything else in here that says operation that shouldn't be changed? That does change to transformation detail. Yes. Yeah, so this also means that I need to be really careful with making changes to the transformation base and the mapping rule base if I want to keep compatibility with the existing JSON that we're storing in the database. Did I wrap around? Where's my control F? Yeah, I wrapped around. Okay, so everything in here that does say operation does need to be replaced with transformation. So if we do that, and then I'm going to make sure that I am pointing my database to the local database and not the test database, because we were recently pointing to the test database to test some stuff on Monday. Time for the operation transformation. It is not, it's pointing to test. So let me point it to my local. Close cigarettes. Oh. Okay, so it did successfully update it. Let's take a look just to verify. I am refreshing the data. I am copying it, putting it back in Excel. That is keeping my formula, same number of records, so I should just be able to copy pasta. Coffee. Update. Oh my gosh. Value transformations. We need to find interpolate. Interpolate transformation. Correct. Okay, so now we run the code and make sure that it is deserializing these values back to my user templates. Am I also using the latest version of the database? I should be. I should be. And when I say database, I mean database context. And apparently I'm doing a full debug. I thought that I pushed Control F5. Whatever. This. Let's try running the right app this time. It just stopped. You say web server is listening, but then you just stopped. How so weird, yeah? Okay, so here is a file. No errors this time, which means it pulled in the templates. In my local server, I do not have the ability to show you what it would look like if I have the match. Well, yes, I do. Yes, I do. So this one has 3 user templates that I specified that were using this exact column and field type combination. If instead I use this one, which has instead of everything being stored as a string, it actually has date, time, and doubles and booleans if there are any booleans. And so they no longer have stars because while the fields may match some of the field mappings, it's not an exact file match. So the star is the indicator that this file was used to create this template. However, these templates use fields that are contained in that file as well, so you might be able to use them to restore. And so if I save that, not save it, if I apply that template, then I get my value, and I'm going to leave it like that because I'm going to save a new template, updated file, file that has the actual data types. So now that one is showing up with a star because this file was used to create that template. But I could still use these to restore. I could use that one to restore. So that's the new user template discovery logic that we wrote on Monday. And I think we started it on Thursday or something. But we finished on Monday. I actually finished it yesterday and published it. No, we finished it on Monday and I published it yesterday morning, and then I started working on this. And what I mean by this is the user was like, I would really love a way to be able to map from an empty or blank value to a some other value. No. Okay, and this error was what? Oh, invalid character error? I don't even know what that is. Failed to execute set attribute on element. @bind is not a valid attribute name. So the updated UI that I have for the map values has errors. That makes absolutely no sense. Okay, so we're not going to be able to see that code in this project because, again, this is the layer that's on top of the core library, and this logic would be in the core library directly. So I'm going to close out of everything so that we have our focus. No, I wanted to keep the query though, so that I could run it on test when I'm ready to publish it. And then when I'm ready to push to production, I'll run it on production. It's okay. Copilot wrote the majority of it for us, and I don't have to think too hard. Let's do, now I forgot what it was that we're gonna do. We're going to this project, which is where? Why aren't you showing up on this screen? Core library. Oh, this is the name of the sample app that I have in this project is arm.lab.import service, which is not right. It's supposed to be arm.its file import utility. And I'm going to rename all of the namespaces as well, so that it's easier to push to our open source project. Anyway. So the things that I want to open are the mapping rule, or map transformation, sorry, and the UI for it. which is in components. I'm not lost, you're lost. Okay. I am going to go ahead and split these. I've been trying to avoid doing this on the stream screen. Whoops. Because there's just not enough real estate when I'm zoomed in this much. Hello, Juan Von. I found in the mirror every... I'm found in the mirror every time. I wish I could say the same. This is why I don't look at the mirrors very closely. Yeah, that's probably why I'm lost. Okay, so there is an app bind that this thing doesn't like. Where? This app bind me. Oh. What happened here? How did... So if you didn't see it, there is this random T. And I tested this before I pushed it. This is why I need an actual reviewer for my PRs. Gremlins are always putting random things in there like that. So this means that I need a... I need a new branch just to fix that typo. Tin put, not to be confused with iron put or copper put. True. But it can easily get confused with gold put. No, it can't. I'm using self-closing, so because input controls are self-closing elements. They don't have a body. They must have gone to fit density already. Okay, anyway. Oh gosh. Typo fix. What else am I supposed to put? I don't even know how to spell typo. I don't make typos because I don't want to have to spell typo. Tipo. Deeple. Get deeple. And to increase the linter level so that it complains about non-known input types. Oh, I wonder if that would mess with... I mean, probably. I don't exactly know how. Me gusta tipo. Get people. Still asking. I don't know if that is going to cause an issue with the Blazor components, because the Blazor components are also pretty much HTML elements. It's just that they aren't compiled as elements currently. They're the source for them is what gets sent to the page itself. However, and as for what you're saying, I should already have doctype HTML. And then it doesn't really make sense to put doctype HTML in individual components. No, that's okay. I love your thoughts and suggestions. Please continue to provide them whenever you feel like. They are very welcome. It was a thought. And hello, good VJ. So, ¿qué tipo hablan? ¿De quién tú hablas? Okay, so I think I fixed it. We're gonna run the app to make sure. I'll commit. We'll do a PR, merge, pipeline, release, and then update the NuGet package again. And then test again. So weird. Like this is my standard procedure. I will do whatever change. I'll run the app, make sure it's working. An error has a help. An error. These are all brand spanking new. This one says could not read properties of null. Yeah, so this one is a Blazor render error. And this does happen on occasion. I still don't know what causes it. It could be that I was trying to do other things with the app at the same time. Not 100% sure, but I'm sure if we run it again, it's going to be fine. Yeah. No. What are you doing? I am so confused about that. That's okay. We're all allowed to be a little confused all the time. I mean, sometimes. It's an endearing quality or so, I hear. All right, so when we go to map rule, it works. Okay, I'll show you the functionality here. We'll do it again in the core, in the usage of this. But the point is that the users wanted to be able to map from an empty value to some other value. So if I set up that mapping, then every time that we see a blank or null value, we will get some other value as the output. And so we can see that that is only being applied to blank values. I probably should go ahead and do this blank syntax for when I'm showing the current step. Which would be... Which would be here. Wait, why aren't you doing that? That is not this table. That's this table that I'm looking at. Got it. I'm looking for a real love, baby. Yeah. Singing stream in 2 days. 3 days. On someone else's channel. Hosted by someone else. Where someone else will be singing. And not me. Good VJ says, Hi, Good VJ. You're introducing yourself like you've never been on this channel before. I'm graduating in a few months and actively looking for job opportunities. I've been hearing that .NET is in high demand in the Midwest. Given my background in MERN stack, do you think it's worth investing time in learning .NET from scratch? Or should I focus on leveraging my existing skills to find opportunities? I really can only speak to my experiences in the job hunt, which is I happen to be a .NET developer who grew up on .NET. I mean, I know Java because that's what I learned in school, Java and JSP and Oracle. And I learned all of the .NET stuff that I know now on my own. But, and also I have not been in the job market looking for jobs. The last jobs that I got, the very first one was me applying for a job to work in civil service. Actually, it was the PX. I worked at the PX. And then I worked at a call center. And then, after 3 years of my resume being in the federal service system, I was finally selected for a student position working for federal service. And I was working in human resources office doing classification clerk work, and I was doing as much automation using VBA as I could because I wasn't allowed to write actual software while I was doing that, but I was going to school for software for computer science. But that was because I had applied, waited 3 years, and then got selected finally. Then I graduated. They really liked the work that I did. They moved me into what's called a student career employment program instead of a student temporary program, so that when I graduate, I have a permanent full-time position with them. But it was still in the human resources office, so I was still working human resources when I graduated in 2009 and moved to Missouri because that's where the permanent job was. And during my time there, I had the opportunity to go and work with the team that was doing our human resources applications and do some actual software dev work. And there were 2 3-month stints that I was able to do with them over 2 years. And in doing that, I had a connection. Stop it, T. Williams. No misinformation. So I made a connection, just one connection. His name was Niran Sakalmeka. Amazing guy. Actually, I had 3 connections, but he was the only one that I ever reached out to be like, I really want to get into software development. I'm tired of doing human resources. This is really, really stressing me out. And it was really hard on my life, from my perspective. You can't start him. You can put a space. Put a space before the dot. And it'll trim the space. It'll trim the leading space. So anyway, I got in contact with Niran. He pointed me to someone else that I had talked to there. We weren't really good friends or anything, but Niran and I kept in contact after I was doing the automation stuff, which was so much fun. But that was my first introduction to ASP.NET web pages, web forms. That's what I meant to say. ASP Web Forms. Yeah. ASP Web Forms. Had a ton of fun working in that. He pointed me to this guy. The guy had a friend who owned a contract company and had a contract with the Rocky Mountain Arsenal. And that person hired me pretty quick, especially since I went to him for peanuts. And I was working for him for peanuts. Like barely enough to survive in Colorado. It was rough for a bit. So got a job there, worked at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, had a blast learning these apps. I was able to direct to shape the direction of where the apps go, how they were put together. And then supervisor changed. And then things went downhill really, really fast. My wife got a job there as a document tracking center specialist, document specialist. But, oh my gosh, this boss. Long story short, the last thing he gave us was COVID. And shortly after that, we were like, we're out. We're not dealing with this guy anymore, or this situation anymore. And I got a job at Sagetti because a recruiter had contacted me and said, hey, we have a position at one of our clients that they want to use Blazor for a desktop app. And I see in your resume that you have a lot of Blazor experience. And I was like, yes, this is so. And so they contacted me. I took the job, left RMA. Working on that team was a shock, a culture shock for me. I had never worked on a team like that before. Long story short, I left that job and came back to the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge as a direct contract to the prime contractor. And the person that was my boss is no longer there. That entire contract is no longer there. I'm pretty much filling the role of that contract. So, the whole point of that, good VJ, is I found it to be very useful having .NET skills. There are plenty of opportunities that I could tell for .NET developers, but there are also plenty of opportunities for JavaScript framework developers, people that know Angular, people that know React, people that know Vue even. But I couldn't give you any personal experience of trying to get a job as a web developer that uses one of those other technologies. And also, you know Java. So that is a boon for you as well, because there are plenty of organizations and companies that use Java. Okay, now I'm going to read everyone else's responses to you. Mr. Goatastic. Goat. In my region, .NET is mandatory, as most jobs are public domain and they only use C# and .NET. Yeah, that's the other thing. Government offices, state offices, federal government, even a lot of private institutions that are larger, the education system, banks, they'll use .NET. Or a lot of them use .NET, I should say. And then Annie said, I would suggest always learn new stuff, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it sparks your interest. Yeah, follow your passion. That's a great comment, Kenny. Thank you. That means you learn faster, and the broader you know things, the more visible you, or versatile, I said visible, versatile you are. I still say, like, mine is targeted focus. So if there is a specific industry that you're trying to get a job for, learn the technology they use predominantly. If you already have skills in one area, try to find an industry where you can apply those skills. It might not always match your passion, but it is a way to get started with getting experience so that you can put 4+ years of industry experience. And then T. Williams said, oh, wait, first Juan Von said, I get a recruiter email every other day, or more than one. Yep. Just put your information on LinkedIn and you'll get bogged down. And put MERN if you want. You don't even need to put .NET. Whatever technology you're comfortable in, and you will get contacted, regardless of whether you want to or not. But T. Williams says, so .NET is dead, become a doctor. By the way, you can't start a chat message with .NET. Candy says, come to the dark side, we have coffee. T. Williams says, I like my coffee like my Death Stars, large, black, and strong enough to destroy a planet. Isn't the Death Star silvery? Was it black? Oh dear. Good VJ said, it's not about .NET, it's about I don't have any offer at this point. Would you recommend learning completely new things just to try to fit in? I never do, no. But that's only because I have the freedom to be able to decline learning things that I'm not interested in. I'm in a position where I'm sustained and things are going very well for me, especially using the technology I have already invested time in, enjoy working in, and have a passion for. So I would just say, if you have a passion for learning, that's another indication that, yeah, take the leap. Jump into learning .NET. Because you'll enjoy the learning experience regardless of whether you learn something or not. If you start learning .NET and you find that it's enjoyable to use to create applications, then that's another way that you can tell it's your passion. If you start using it and you're just like, I'm 2 weeks in and everything just, nothing seems to make sense, nothing is clicking, and I hate using this. Oh, no worries. I have the VOD, and actually, if you go over to YouTube right now, you should be able to rewind for that, because I do need to get back to work. So we can talk more about that on Friday if you'd like, but those are my thoughts. Everyone else in chat, if you feel like continuing to respond and give more advice or thoughts or opinions or whatever you feel like giving, please do, and I'll read them out loud. And he says, imagine Death Star would be white, how much weight they would have saved. So you're saying, imagine if the Death Star was white, imagine how much weight they would have saved. Because of paint, or... I don't think I get it. That's the reason why most planes are white. Because paint. Because black paint is heavy? I did not know this. It's very interesting. Hello, Napalm. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. But what if the metal that was used to craft the Death Star, which you can see happening in one of the, at least one of the Star Wars spin-off series, what if the metal they were using was black without being painted? Huh? I kid. Okay. We did. Okay, I was trying to find this render for this table here so that any blank values will also use this blank placeholder so that the user knows that it's actually blank. The reason that you're not seeing a value here is because it's blank. So that should be right here. And so there's going to be two potentials. There's going to be, if this is null, then output null. Else, if this is null or white space, which in this case is only white space, because we're already checking for null before this. Oops. Then we're going to output blank. Otherwise, we're going to output the actual value. Okay, that should update immediately if I didn't stop the app. That should update immediately if I didn't. That should. No! Hot reload. How dare. Imagine they wouldn't have sealed it. You could destroy it with water and corrosion. What? I'm missing a parent. A bracket for those of you that... Oh, I am. Whoops. My fault. Luke, now throw the water bomb directly into the reactor. They didn't account for water with their shields. Why are you doing this rendering thing again? This is so odd. I'm making changes that aren't... Whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. T. Williams says, wouldn't you have to spray it with water on the inside since there's no O2 in space for the water to react? Oh dear. It won't rust. Why won't it rust? It just kind of bounces off the surface. There we go. Blank and blank. And if we map from blank to test, then we have a map from blank to test, and our current end value for the current record is going from blank to test, and we can see that that happens here. But if we choose this one, it's LCS to LCS, LCSD to LCSD, and MB to MB. Umberto. Okay, so that works. That's doing what we want. As mentioned, or as promised, we're going to do the commit. Copilot's going to write my commit message, even though I could have written it faster. But I would have used a lot more words. This is what we did. Command push. Lord Vader, the rebels build a giant fan in front of the Death Star. Now we're just watching Spaceballs. Okay. Pull requests. Proceed. That is not related to anything. The fans keep blowing it off course. We didn't account for that. The rebels aren't very smart, are they? They might have better aim than stormtroopers, but they're not very smart. Okay, the pull request should be done by now. Should be able to pull main. Yeah, exactly. We have a particle accelerator. That could help, but still no way to... Oh. They're just going to end up over-engineering it, wasting a lot of time, having it exploded anyway. This sounds like something I would do. Wait, it is too fully merged. Why are you telling me it's not fully merged? It was. You're just being weird. Don't be weird. Merge. And he said, Lord Vader, the blades of the fan are slicing the Death Star into parts. Don't be weird. It's too late. Of course it is. Are you by chance? No, we won't go there. Pull, please. Or push. I'm sorry. We just merged main into the current branch that we're working in. Okay. We're waiting for our builds. Our pipeline build, which should only take about 2 minutes. 3 minutes on average. I'm by chance very weird. Well, no, I like weird. I like weird a lot. It was your specific persona, Enneagram type. But I'm not doing that today. Not today. No, Lord Vader. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. They're not dolls. Gosh, I still wouldn't be able to quote anything. I do know, I recognize it as being from Spaceballs, but I just... It's been a million years. Hey, build. Here's our release. Which, by the way, we did find out that our release is releasing the NuGet package without the -beta suffix on it, which means that we're not getting a pre-release version. Otherwise, I would have tested the pre-release before allowing the full release to go through. But when we see this, it's going to say this will go faster also when we filter out only publishing the .nupkg files to the artifact staging directory. But we're going to see that it's going to push the version number .nupkg without the -beta, which is really annoying. Okay, so because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and approve the production. Rewriting a JSON API. This is Kenny saying this. Rewriting a JSON API to a real REST API and checking the documentation of all endpoints, all parameters, all DTOs is so boring. It sounds fun to me. I don't think I'm wrong about your Enneagram type. Thank you, Big Gamey. So Big Gamey just gave us a shout out. Super duper nice of him. Shout out to Big Gamey, who is a game developer streamer working in Unity. Oops. I did that wrong. Shout out Big Gamey. He's currently streaming, so if you are interested in participating in a highly interactive stream and you're bored of mine, you can turn me down, head over to his stream, and start interacting with all of his stream interactions. You have any he has keywords, so if you type certain words like pork or pig, then stuff will happen on his stream. Check, just go over there to see what happens. Otherwise, if you're having fun here, stay here, hang out with me. Let's keep going. We just finished a pull request process that triggered our pipeline build and release, our CI/CD, and we just finished pushing our new NuGet package, although I don't have to wait for that one since it's already there. Our new NuGet package so that we can use it in our in the application that we are working on. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for saying hi to him. So we're going to update the NuGet package for that library. And we're going to see if it works. And then I need to recreate that script so that we can apply it to test before we publish. Do the PR for this. Zoot. Okay. Run fast. Hey. The stream elements thing that you just saw shouted out was created by none other than Findle, who is a talented .NET developer working in e-commerce apps, his personal site. He was sick for a while, but he did come back to his stream yesterday. It was early morning for those of us in the US. So it is entirely possible you weren't able to catch it because it was super early. He ended his stream right as I was getting to my computer at 4:30 in the morning. But yeah, more .NET developers. Are you running? I can't tell if it's running. I think it's running. It's not running. Maybe it's running. I'm gonna rerun. Looks good to me. Okay. Is it gonna work this time? Please just work. So no audio jittering and stuff like that that's been going on, I'm assuming, because no one has complained about it at least. So that's good. I think my routine now is going to be when I get back from my morning routine, restart that computer, this computer, and the mobile studio, and then set up the stream. It's only going to take an extra 15 minutes. It's fine. It's not like I'm trying to get work done. Okay, so we were able to reload a template, so the template stuff still works. If we copy value, I've been using sample type because it has a blank value. So we get the updated UI. It didn't crash this time. And we can route from or map from an empty value to some other value. And like, let's just say we want LCS to go to a blank value. So we can do that as well. We can map from a found value to blank. So it works both ways. Everything is good. Life is good. Great, grand, fantastic, wonderful, marvelous, excellent. So we're gonna commit this. Updated NuGet version. Why are you acting like we updated? Oh, and namespaces. We are going to commit and push, and then we're going to create the pull request for this library plus app. I'm sure this thing is done. It's just being weird. Yeah, I thought so. Repos. Pull requests. Create a pull request. We're going to review this one though. Create the pull request. This is not associated with a work item. All right, so we're updating the NuGet versions and then naming the namespaces, not renaming, but updating the namespaces to match the library's namespace, updating the enums to match the library's enums, and the transformation also. I mean the actual value transformation class. Okay, good. Now I need to prepare the script again so that I can run this while it is publishing the test application. And that was update field mapping set mapping definition equals replace all that stuff. And we're replacing operation with transformation. Okay, so then the other thing I'm going to do is open up SQL Server Management Studio so that I can run this script just before the release happens. That way it doesn't break any existing stuff. P. Williams says, I thought about streaming today. That would have been awesome. But I'm ahead of schedule in my project and don't want my boss to know. What if your boss watches my stream? Because I'm assuming they would know because they watch your streams. Load. It loaded on the correct screen, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my desktop. Desktop. Still would have been cool to watch your stream. Do you wear your Top Gun glasses during your stream? New query. Pasta you there. Right, we're trying to approve and complete so that we finish the branch. Then I will be pulling and we'll wait for the builds to complete. Right now we're only focused on the site build and release, but I also have the lab data import library portion creating its own NuGet packages, and apparently that's getting done first. We only have one agent because we are using the free Visual Studio Team services. Azure DevOps is what I said. So I guess that means that we have, plenty of time to cancel, to pull main. Delete the local branch. Ooh. And I guess we can close this file now that I have it in SQL Server Management Studio. Serve us! Hello, GitGover. You've almost got me in a trance, but not quite. What do you need done? I'm drinking water is what I'm doing. Kickover is asking, what are you doing? We are currently updating our library to use the latest other library with the changes that were asked by one of the users, so that they can now map from a blank value to a different value, map from blank, some actual value to blank. And we just finished testing it, updating the app, and we're now doing the PR for it. Or actually, we already did the PR. So now we're waiting for the pipeline to run. And right now it's doing the library pipeline. No, it is doing the site pipeline first. I have the, oh my gosh, I have the icons backwards. This means it's in progress. How long do you guys usually take? About 4 minutes. Okay, I'm also going to step away for a really quick second, but I'll be right back. Turn up the music for you. Please enjoy Purple Cat while I'm away, or whoever happens to be playing. Untitled. Artist unknown. Much better. Sorry for the wet hands. I can't guarantee that it's because they were washed and not fully dried. Okay, it is done. So we can go to our release, and it probably started the build pipeline for the other. Again, we only have one agent. I can neither confirm nor deny. I can only hope that it's still wet from washing my hands. But that's the extent of it. I don't. Oh yeah. I'm gonna go to this window. Oh, it went. Dang it. Run. Okay, we're good. So I ran the thing on the thing for the thing. I ran the script to update operation to transformation in all of the field mappings on the test server, which I was supposed to do before it finished publishing, but that's okay. It's published now. I don't think they're using the app yet, so I'm going to go ahead on production. So I'm going to go ahead and run the script on production as well, and then I'll rechat in a second. You didn't go to the right database. Okay, so yeah, no records in production because they haven't been using it. Perfectly fine, which means that we can be relatively safe to just push to production. But let's go ahead and test out the test site. But before that, Napalm is telling us, deployed my first Azure SWA yesterday. I don't know what SWA is. That was fun. Docker image running Terraform, invoking Docker run commands dynamically. Very Inception-y. Static web app. I could have guessed. And confirm my hands smell like soap. It's gotta be washed hands. That did not smell like pee. Okay. Kickover saying, is that Terraform Docker a dev container or is it running in the pipeline? Thank you. I didn't even realize. Yo. Apply. Advanced. I missed. One. Still not. Oh, because song was over. Not helpful. How am I supposed to test my audio if the song was over? Okay. Napalm was also saying both. Hi, Zaid. In response to Gopher's question, both. So locally dev container run Terraform invokes Docker run inside of that container, or GitLab invokes job inside Terraform container, which invokes Docker run inside that container from Terraform using Docker in Docker Fun. I'm reading it like an AI would, putting inflection in the wrong place, ignoring punctuation. I mean, it's not like you're writing English anyway. We're Dockerizing all our DevOps environments, says GitGopher, in dev container and for pipeline executions. To Napalm makes sense though. Thindle's here. Hello, Thindle. One time, one lion was working on a client solution on Twitch, and Thindle came by. Not sure where I'm going with that, but hello, I am present. Cause for whatever reason, AI reading stuff always chooses to use the opposite word that you mean to put there instead. Napalm says, I should have probably used punctuation. Well, I mean, it doesn't help that you're also saying Docker run as the command that it's invoking. And so when you just read it, it's like you're saying, which invokes Docker run inside that container from Terraform. No, you're okay though. Everyone understood what you meant. I can see at least one period in that message. True. See? Thindle saw your punctuation. I said it was very Inception-y. Hi. Okay. What we need to do now is figure out what... Oh, no, we need to test it. I was going to say figure out what our next work item is. But we do need to test this first. LDU. It's been a while since we've actually went to the application, the deployed app. Gopher is asking Napalm, where do your pipelines run? Kubernetes, VMs, Dockers on VMs, and Napalm said Azure Kubernetes Services, Azure, AKS. Thindle says to Napalm, I'm running the most what the heck are you doing Docker install on one of my home lab machines. VMware, is that actually pronounced a specific way? VMware ESXi, Windows VM. Okay, so it's just spelled out, just the letters. Windows VM and Docker Desktop. Candy says, exited with error code 0. Work is done. Start with gaming now, lurk. Enjoy your lurk. Oh, I get it. candydev.exe. Exited with code 0. Thindle then said, so my Docker containers run as the 4th layer of virtualization. Napalm says, I just thought it was really cool invoking Docker commands from inside of a Docker container from Terraform. Nerd moment. I would nerd out with you, but I really don't know what it means. But I do believe you that it is not impressive, fun, enjoyable to think about. That loaded super fast. That might not have... I used the wrong template. Let's use this template instead. What is that? Please no. No high-pitched noises. Takeover says, we're moving 3 of our 5 AKS on-prem due to cost and because AKS is annoying when a lot of custom networking is involved. The Napalm said, it's like how many technologies can I use to invoke each other? Yeah. Kind of like Thindle's bacon. .NET bacon. Then Napalm said, then Gopher said, grammar, ... Thindle then said to Napalm, so you're using an IAAC script to set up a Docker container that then runs Docker. Zaid says, I spent a few days Dockering my Blazor app for production just to remember that my app requires QuickBooks COM reference for the API, and I deleted everything to do with Docker after. No, that's so sad. Link goes to Taco. And there we go. We've just proved that the work that we've done works on the test server. And now we have a whole bunch of tacos for our site types. Yay! Go us. All right, now we need to figure out where we're going next. That was fun. Okay, so to find out where we're going next, we are going to review what work items we have in the lab data import service, because I remember adding some things here, finding our lowest hanging fruit, and doing that one. The lot assignment functionality. That one is definitely it. That's definitely the one. So let's grab that one. Okay, this is going to be really, really fun. So the way that our app works, I need to show you a test lab data thing. So this is RTrack. It is the application that the lab that we have been using since forever uses to upload their lab results so that we have access to it. The app was specifically created to accept TRN files. And a TRN file is a fixed width formatted file so that each of the character positions represents a different field. There are no column headers, there are no delimiters to indicate this is one field or another field. They are specifically, the first 3 characters are the installation code, the next 3 characters are the file type, the next 4 characters are the file type. The next, that doesn't sound right, it is 3. Next 3 characters are the file type. The next 4 characters are the site type. That's what it was. Etc. etc. And so they would use this application to upload their results that were generated from their system. Those lab results, like I said, look like that file. And I logged in with the wrong account. And they are called lab lot data. And the reason they're called lab lots is because the code that is used for the file, the discriminator for the results coming back, is comprised of the lab, a two-digit, 2-character code representing the lab that did the analysis, and the lot number, which is an increasing value that's generated by their system. It's managed by their system. It's generated by their system. We use it and associate it with our samples that we sent to them, but they use it internally as this 4-character code. We're expecting 4 characters back for the lot. However, the new labs that we're using give us files, and let's go back to test LDU. They give us files that look like this instead, which is a CSV that has a column header as well as rows of values. And that column header, the entire file is a CSV, comma separated, comma delimited, whatever you want to call it. And there is nothing in here that is actually called lot number. The closest thing that we found is this analysis batch value. The problem is, if we try to use the analysis batch, we get this error, which is there is at least one value, one incoming value that has an error, and that error is the lot field must be no more than 4 characters. So we would need a way to transform their analysis batch into our lot number that we're expecting for our system. That is going to require some database work. It's going to require a new feature to be added to the lab data import utility, which is the ability to look up in a database table and reserve the next character code to be used as the lot number and associate it back with this analysis batch number for this particular file for and it just goes on and on and on and on. So that's what we'll be doing next. Something else that I still really have on our bucket list of things to do that would be fun to do is figure out where all of these what seem to be memory leaks, or yeah, I'm gonna call them memory leaks and I'll just leave it at that, are coming from. Where if you're using the app and you're doing one file and then you move to another file and then you move to another file, it just gets slower and slower and slower. And you load another template, but it doesn't seem to be doing that now. It seems to be performing just fine at the moment. But I still want to research that and see if there actually is something to the fact that it seemed to be getting slower. Okay, so we're going to create a branch for that work item. And it is task 54544. And it is called lot assignment func. Lot assign func. All right. Okay. So it's time to do some brain work after I catch up in chat. So up here, Zaid was talking about trying to Dockerize his app and then realizing he couldn't. Napalm responded to Thindle saying, kind of. Thindle's question was, so you're using an IAAC script to Docker container to set up a Docker container that runs a Docker. And Napalm is responding, kind of. There is this thing in Terraform called a local exec. Lets you run commands. Our CI/CD jobs run inside a Docker container. So Terraform apply hits that local exec resource and runs the Docker run script. Defined there, passing args created by Terraform to it, along with the volume mount from the host. Thindle says, in case anyone wants a description of Bacon, it's a C# application that reads a Lua script that passes that Lua script into a VB library that passes that Lua script into an F# library that then spins up a Lua engine to run the script, which displays ASCII Bacon. And then, which has had more things added to it, even since the last time I remember seeing it. And if you're interested, you should just be able to .NET install Bacon or something. Then Thindle said, wait, GitGopher said to Zaid, what's QuickBooks? Have you really not heard of QuickBooks? It's interesting. Look up Intuit QuickBooks. It is I guess Zaid responded, it's an accounting software that my app uses to create and view invoices. Thindle said to Napalm, sounds 100% logical. And Napalm says, I needed it to spin up Azure Static Web Apps because we use GitLab, not GitHub, where there is direct integration. So GitLab, you get the deploy token from the web app or from the app you create and pass that and some details in a container to upload your static files. The Docker run commands dynamically does that using Microsoft's image, essentially mimicking the direct Git integration they have with GitHub. And Thindle responded to Napalm, do what I do. Use code to push your stuff to a private GitHub repo, and that then pushes stuff to a static web app, and then don't tell your boss. I am my boss, so my boss kind of knows about it, but potato. And then Napalm said, truthfully, GitHub pages would have been way easier. This was the most over-engineered way to host a static HTML file I have seen in my career of IT policy, not allowing public blob accounts for static hosting. And there you have it. I have read the chat. I hope you have enjoyed this reading. Please join us again for our next reading. All right, so we need a mechanism. I don't know why you're needing to rebuild when all I did was just save the file. We need a mechanism for, then I'll just read that when I get to it. We need a mechanism for being able to map the whatever column the user wants to choose to be, or to identify is what I'm trying to say, to identify a column to be used as the lot discriminator. That's what I'm going to call it. Where's more my notes? Lot discriminator. Okay, so it will be rare if it ever happens that a file will contain multiple analysis batches. Almost all files will be for the same analysis batch. Yeah, so this will always be the same. Regardless though, I would still want to be able to say, if you happen to have multiple batches in the same file, that they are all given their own reserved lot number. Even if it's never uploaded to the server, that lot number is going to get, and I keep saying number, but it's a 4-character sequence. So that lot sequence is going to be forever associated with this batch number, regardless of whether it's used or not. You can see that happening in the current uploads. Oops. Where some sequences are skipped. So ANOI, ANOJ, here, ANOE, for example, and ANOF. Where are they? Well, they probably got associated with sample results that weren't used as to be sent back to us. Okay. For that discriminator, we probably will want a lookup table in the database that will associate. So these character sequences here, you see all use AR at the beginning. That's because that is the lab, and the lab is ARDL. And so this 2-letter indicator plus the 4-character lot number are the thing that make it unique. That means that they can have an AR, ANNV, but Eurofin's lab, EU, can have ANNV as well, but be completely different results than this one. Makes sense, easy. So that needs the lab. I don't know if I need to store the field that is being used, the field name. So what if, and this is a terrible idea, but what if in the first file that they upload, they're like, we want to use the analysis batch column to give us the lot number. Then in another upload, they're like, well, we actually want to use the prep batch for the lot number. So when I'm retrieving results for a given lot, I would need to be able to know this lot number got its results from that file's analysis batch column using this value to associate with this lot number. This file, oh geez, my left and right are just flying across instead of scrolling smoothly. This other file was using the prep batch column, the prep batch field, with this value for this next sequential lot number. So the lot number should always be sequential in this table. That lot number, the lab lot, is going to be a unique index in this table, but the input column and input value are going to be repeatable. No, they're not. They're not going to be repeatable either. Yeah, so there'll be two unique indexes, the lab and lot, as well as the lab field name. Oh gosh, lab field name and field value. Field name, field value. So essentially this is going to be a table that has lab field name, field value, lot. And it's going to be a mapping from a file's lab field name, lot number. Okay, as for the UI for this, the specification, and these are also going to be parameters on the mapping rule. So the mapping rule is going to be called something like lot lookup. And if anyone has a better name, please let me know. That's going to have matching fields for where do I get the lab from? And that's going to be a mapping rule. Which field should I be using? Well, that's going to come from this here, where you're going to set up the lot to lot lookup. And the lot lookup will only be available for the destination field lot. Only available for destination field lot. Okay, so lot lookup will have a mapping rule for lab. Yeah, I guess it would still be a mapping rule for the discriminator, lot discriminator. Oh gosh. Yeah, what if they use a transformation for the lot discriminator and not a field name? Maybe this just needs to be an imported record field ID. Would it make sense to allow the combination of incoming fields to determine what the lot discriminator is? Like, let's say they used the lab sample ID, but they wanted to get out only the three parts of it, the three numeric parts of it. And that would be the lot number. Then they would need a regex, or however they're going to substring the rest of these and map them. They would need a regex to go from, or to extract the numeric values, the numeric groups, and concatenate them using the interpolate operation with a dash in between the three numeric results that we'll get back from every single one of these values. And then what do I store in the field name column of the lookup table? It wouldn't make sense. It would have to be a field mapping. Emporium guy, hello, welcome in. I was lurking over on your stream. Hope you had a fantastic stream. What were you working on? Field mapping. You guys don't know Emporium guy? Scott! You guys don't know Emporium guy? Oh, you're probably stuck behind ads now since pre-rolls have expired. Boo. Boo ads. I'll keep talking until you show up. Until you get here. But shout out for Emporium guy. If you don't know Emporium guy... I love that sound. Auth 0 and registering the non-existent service. Auth service. Emporium guy has been learning Blazor, doing a lot of really cool work in just web app dev, learning things on stream. Very good times over on his stream. You will often see me in his list of viewers, of lurkers. Not that I talk very much in very many people's streams. Are you currently streaming on a schedule? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. It's still a great sound. Play it anytime you want. Not too often, please, but whenever it seems appropriate. I really do love that sound, as long as I'm not in the middle of a thought. Intense thinking. But right now would be great. Now's very appropriate. Builder.services.add scope to iRemote authentication service. Passing in a remote authentication service to Emporium guy. Did you just think of something that would have helped him while he was streaming? Or find the thing that you were trying to tell him during the stream? I see Napalm and TBD were in there telling you stuff. Just an idea. Not sure I've touched Auth 0. So one thing with authentication is that I just constantly default to recommending to people to look at the .NET template, at the Blazor web app template. His exception message explained no registered service for iRemote authentication service while attempting to activate remote authentication state. Yeah. So that I have preferred how do I word this correctly? to indicate what I really am trying to say. I have preferred to use the scaffolded identity that are given to us by the .NET templates when creating a new project, because I'm using all of the simple, straightforward stuff, which is here is that I can do whatever I want with the databases. So I have one database that is specifically share server services. One database that's specifically for all of my identity store stuff. And so that's this ASP.NET Core identity context. So I configure that as a SQL server. I have to do this compatibility mode thing because JSON, whatever the JSON lookup is that they started using when you have a contains query, doesn't work with the version of SQL that we're running on our servers. So I have to tell it to be compatible, create the queries that are compatible with server version 120 and before, whatever this means. I mean compatibility level 120 before. That aside, I recommended this to TBD on Monday, and I was like, just create a new Blazor web app template, select individual authentication, let it scaffold out all of the stuff that it needs, and then just review it and see what all stuff it adds so that you can have authentication in your app too and just copy it over. They changed the template entirely again. It's like, how are we supposed to, what's going on? So the template that I'm using currently has this persistent authentication state provider on the client, persisting server authentication state on the server, so that when the application runs in Blazor server, it uses this, or when it's doing the API calls to your controllers or whatever you're running on your server that's receiving requests that supports authentication state, and then what it does on the client for the authentication state. And I thought this was super duper easy to understand, super easy to use. And then they're like, well, we wanted to make it to where you didn't need a different persistent server, persistent authentication state provider. So now they have an identity authentication state provider that's defined here. And I haven't even looked at it yet. Yeah, this is the .NET 8 template. And then in comes me going, the shits, guys. Is that a phrase? It would have been more WTF moment, but I guess. But yeah, that's definitely what I was like. It's cool that you want to keep improving, but when you're totally revamping the templates every release, it's getting a bit unwieldy. It's getting difficult to upgrade applications by just changing the version number. I'm not sure why, but authentication has always been for me. Like, it's neither been hard nor easy. It's just been something that's there. Or it's more like WTF, because that's how it is for a lot of us. My brain can't grok. Okay, yeah, so that's how it is for a lot of us. It's like, we get the principles, we get the terms that you keep using with back end for front end. We get the way that you're supposed to structure it to create tokens if you're going to use bearer tokens, and use cookies if you're going to be a little bit more secure, which everything should be, using BFF from now on with cookies and stuff instead of bearer tokens. But it's like, what does it all actually mean, and how do we set it up in our app? And then you go to find a tutorial, and they're like, this is going to have some profanity in it as well. I won't read it out loud though. How to draw an owl, and I referred to this on Irish John's stream. But this is absolutely what it feels like. First, draw some circles, then draw the rest of the owl. It's like, I need the intermediary steps, please. Help me out here. Give me a little more detail. It just feels like that with a lot of tutorials now. But yeah, like for me, I have the user's email address. Their username is different than their email address. Their given name, I allow them to put what name they want to be referred to as. They can customize that using one of the management pages. And so if I want all of those properties in the claims that get sent to the server, or that get sent to the client so that I can use them in my UI, I just add them as properties to my user info. And I get them from my application user object that's stored in the database, which is the ASP.NET users table. So I just get those from the database, put them into the claim, actually, where am I putting those into the claim? Because it's not here. Is it the user accessor? I'm not entirely sure where I'm getting it into the claim. I do remember explicitly, oh, duh, it's in program.cs. I do remember explicitly telling it where to get the claims from. But I can't find where I did that. But anyway, it's in there. I don't like tutorials that are basically here's step one followed by here's a code dump, figure it out. Yeah. Which is exactly the DL thing. Yeah. But anyway, point is, there's the hard part is figuring out how to get the claims, and it's actually really easy once you figure out how to do it. You do it once and it's done. I honestly don't remember how the claims get put into. Wow, can't remember at all how the claims get put into the incoming identity options. Okay. It's probably something to do with identity options, which gets added somewhere. Default scheme, external scheme, type name handling. No clue. I can't remember where. SI. But there's somewhere. There is somewhere that I tell it that the given name should be put into that claim types.name field. .given name field. Or the nickname, I guess, gets put into that field. Okay. Dukesoft, you got it right. Step 1, tab, tab, tab. Question, but how does it work? A, just press tab. That's how it works. You're not wrong. Hey Dukesoft, hope your day is going well. So anyway, we need to continue on with this. I was procrastinating a little there because I'm not fully convinced with my approach, but I'm getting there. A little more convinced. A little happier with it. Ooga. You sound like you're from Middle Earth, the game, and you're shouting out one of the I say you sound like that. I mean, you sound like that in my head. That's how I heard you say it in my head. Like you were saying one of the orc names. Okay. You're not wrong. So let's close stuff again. Start from a clean slate. Again, the work item that we are doing now is the being able to map to auto sequence a lab ID, lab number, lot number. That's what I said. And so the design that we came up with that we're thinking about is to allow the user to pick a field during the mapping step. They will be given a mapping rule that will allow them to choose lot lookup. Then the parameters for that are going to be what is the mapping rule for the lab? How do we get the lab? And then what is the mapping rule for the lot number? Which again, I think we're going to go with a field mapping instead, and we're going to store the field mapping. Maybe. I don't like that though. So that's what the client side should look like. The server side, we're going to need to create a new database table that will hold the lab, whatever they chose to find the lot number, and the actual lot number. Correct. It's not ronk. Ronk. How about hand drawn, is it? Okay. Let's do the database work first. Maybe I need to make that decision. Let's do the client side first, just because I'm not 100% sure on what it is that I want to store in the lookup table. Yeah, let's do that. So what we would like is a new mapping rule. Okay, so here's going to be an instance where I want this mapping rule to only be for this application. And I don't know if it is going to do the code gen, the source gen correctly. I've never ever needed to do. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. So here we go. We're going to have a nope, not here. This is the wrong one. I'm going to close that before I get confused. You're the one that I needed to close all tabs. Fuck. Wait, was that other one still ended up? Yeah, it was in the conditional branch. Conditional rule branch. So here's what we're going to discover. Some of you probably already know what the answer is going to be, but I sure don't. This is server. Okay, so we need a custom mapping rules. And this is going to be the lot lookup rule. And I guess I should have the other one open to show what is supposed to happen. But I really don't think it's gonna work. Because enum generator in the core library Come on. You can expand. Don't be shy. Endo Shinaida. Hello? This is the component library. Okay. So the mapping rule itself is fine. I could see how that will get generated correctly. But the mapping rule type enum will not get the new enum that we're creating added to it at all. And so I would need an entirely new mapping rule type enum in my application in order for this to work the way that I'm expecting it to. This is a problem with splitting up the file import into two separate repos. So if I told this thing to inherit from mapping rule base. Hi, Foolish Snubble. How are you doing? And I filled in all of the information correctly, except for you and you. Oops. Right, I forget about that. And for now, I'm just going to set this to false. You're all going to be inherit doc. Okay, so all this says is use the description that was already set on the base class for this, which is cool. What's up, Doc? Says Snubble. All right. Enum member name I have been using name of lot lookup rule. For display name, I've been putting an actual string. For description, auto generates a lot number based on selected field map. I don't know. I need more words. What is a Galloway? John. That's what a Galloway is, according to Scott. Okay, so by doing this, by specifying that this class is inheriting from mapping rule base, that would have told the source generator to generate. Oh, right, and putting it in the right namespace would help too. Yeah, it would have told the source generator to generate a mapping rule enum member for this one, but that's not going to work. Because the other thing that it does is it also has the logic. It source generates the logic for being able to instantiate a new um, whatever mapping rule type you're using based off of the enum, as well as find out what that type is, as well as finding out the enum based on the type, as well as getting the description, as well as getting the name. I don't know how to do this. That would be annoying. Okay. I can't do that though. Wheels are churning. That's why I'm so quiet. I'm sorry I'm not reading chat, but my brain is processing. I hope you guys are enjoying your conversation, though. I was going to say if I directly reference the source generator in the application that the core library is being used, then I would have all of my object types created there. As well as my enums. The problem is that the UI that comes with this library would be one such place that I reference the source generator and have it generate the enums and the extension methods, but the core library uses the enums and the extension methods as well, so that wouldn't work. What is your notification, Crisp? What are you trying to tell me? Your computer has high system load. This may impact your voice quality. Again? Really? I thought we fixed that. Okay. I don't know what to do. Get past this brain thing. Okay, so here's what I'm stuck on. I need to be able to create a new mapping rule. And that mapping rule needs to be available to the source generator so that it can generate my transformation type enum, or I'm sorry, my mapping rule type enum. But yeah, here's an example where I'm using the enums. Oh, in the component library. Component library is fine. Here. Are you in the component library as well? That's fine. Okay. Thank goodness. So a needle pulling thread. Fa. Along the way to run. I skipped law because it doesn't make sense. Components. Okay, thank you. Everywhere in our core library, I mean, nowhere in our core library are we directly referencing a specific enum value. Let's also verify this for mapping rule type. Dang it. I don't think we were as lucky. Okay, so mapping rule type is the one that I want to modify. There is a default to mapping rule.copy rule, mapping rule type.copy rule that happens in my helpers class, and that is used while importing. I could change that to just be, no, I can't use default because this is a base class, an abstract class. So I can't use default here. Can we do something like default of mapping rule type dot create new instance? That could work. Where else are you used? Here. Okay. So when we're getting the list of mapped fields only, we're checking all field mappings where the mapping rule type is not ignore. What we can probably change this out for is, I'm pretty sure that my mapping rule base has an ignore mapping property. Okay, what else? It still doesn't fix everything that I'm thinking of. Ignore rule, once again, this would, no, because ignore is totally different than the default. And the ignore mapping depends on the ignore rule. And if the mapping rule is empty. Okay. What else can I think of to do? So again, the situation I'm running into is that I have a source generator on the core library that will take whatever you put as something rule or actually it can be named anything you want. The convention that I have is that it's named whatever it is with the rule suffix on it. But the only thing that really matters is that it's inheriting mapping rule base, implementing mapping rule base. And then the source generator will see the class that has a base class of mapping rule base, generate some enum members as well as the enum extensions using that class's definitions. And the issue is that I am now in a separate repo, in a separate project, where I want to create my own custom rule that would only exist for this project and also still be able to use it in the UI, get all of the source generated stuff. But that's not going to happen, is it? And so my initial thought was get rid of the source generator on the core library and only use the source generator on the projects that use that core library. But that would run into the next issue, which is that this would be reading, while this is compiling, this would be compiling as well, and it would see the class names combined field rule with inheriting mapping rule base, and it would create all of my generated classes in the components project. And my application that I'm using, the library in, uses that components project to get all of the display stuff for free. So I would have to stop using the component library, and this would replace the entire component library, even though its contents would look exactly like the component library for the core library. And that would be two places to maintain changes. So what I would like to know, what I would like to do is be able to say, if I specify the mapping rule base, if I create a mapping rule base here, I still want the value to be added to the enum generated files. It's like, I want the, no, that wouldn't work either. Is it that intermediate core library? I mean, component library. Nope, that wouldn't work either. I'm trying to say these things out loud, but they're all half thoughts, and I'm discarding them just as soon as I think about them. So the other one that I just thought about was, can I create a rule stub in the core library, such as in a custom rule? Like if I said custom rule and I created it here, and then in this project I overwrote custom mapping rule so that I still have access to all of the enums and stuff. It's a half thought. I can't go anywhere from there. One, that's not highly extensible because we would have to create a custom rule for as many custom rules as we think someone might want to use. And then they would override it. And two, I'm not even sure if custom rule is going to, if we override custom rule, because they are partial classes. Yeah, they are partial classes. No, they're not. It would be a partial class. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to resolve this. What if we didn't make it a mapping rule? How would we restore it? Good grief. Okay, so the thought that I just had, that you just heard me throw out, is what if I just made a UI change that says always put in, I don't know, something here. Just always lead with when you see the lot field, then create a new drop down that doesn't map to any of the mapping rule type enum members. And then I'd be able to select it and define all of this stuff for it as if it were a mapping rule. I could still make it a mapping rule base and put that in the field mapping table. And then when I restore it, I would have to have a special rule that says when you are restoring the lot. Okay, Vindle. Thank you for letting us know. Ciao. Enjoy your cartoons. I would need to. I'm gonna try that. Let's just start with that approach. If it fails, we can undo. I'm gonna do this as a UI driven change. I guess it's still gonna be library driven. It's just gonna be specific to the lab data import service. I just wish there was a way for me to be able to do it like this. Okay, but yeah, we are still going to create this as something that inherits mapping rule base. We won't get the enum for it, which means that when we serialize, it's going to serialize this with the name of lot lookup rule. And then when it tries to deserialize, it's going to run into our custom deserializer, which is where? Where's my custom deserializer? I should have a folder called custom serializer or custom deserializer. Oh no. Is the custom deserializer also in the core library? Custom converter. Goodness gravy. I mean, this one should be easier because we can just tell the serializer what if we completely separated the lot lookup from the mapping rule logic? So you would still get the lot lookup as the first option in this lot lookup select list. And when you click on it, you'll get options over here that look similar. The UI would still be very similar, but it's completely detached from the mapping rules. And the way that we would store it in the database is another property of our user import template would be mapping rule, lot lookup mapping ID or something. And so if you load a template that has a lot lookup mapping ID, then it'll go to the database during the import portion, and applying that import, it'll go to the database and get back all of the, not all of the, it'll get back the lot lookup rule. Okay, we're gonna do that. Let's see what that looks like. So do I still want to make you a mapping rule base? I kind of don't. Next hurdle. It's like I think of a thing, I get over the wall, I start running, and then there's another wall. This one is just simply, do I use the base class of mapping rule base or not? I don't think I do. I still need something that I can apply. I still need, I'll leave it. We're leaving it. And we'll just do a lot of special stuff around this class specifically. Okay, so let's get it to show up in our drop-down list first. The way that we do that is we go to our components. We're not going to be able to customize our field. The other thing that's in the core library, in the component library of the core library, is the UI for this field mapper. This is provided to us by the import utility. Field mapping component, wrappers, field mapping flyout. And then the field mapper editor specifically is the thing that has the pick your mapping rule, pick your value transformations, show the value transformation dialog configurator thing when you click on the edit button. So what I meant to say is that we're going to start with the database. And then I'll have to do some really intensive thinking about how exactly to present the UI to the user. Hold on. I wish that I gave myself a way to customize the field mapping. Because my next thought is, what if we have a separate button to choose lot number source? What do I call it? Lot discriminator. And I could add that either to the dockable toolbar as an overlay somewhere else. That one I could manipulate the UI enough to be able to even do something like add a picker to this column here. In the same way that I am I even doing that in here? Add a file mapper. Yeah, in the same way that I am customizing the table headers for the preview table and the incoming data table. Then, if the option for the lot discriminator has been set, when you go into the field mapper, the lot will be a field that gets skipped. It won't show up in this list at all. I can control that. All right, we're getting somewhere. Getting somewhere. So have a separate lot discriminator picker outside of the field mapping UI. I mean, there might be a way that I could put it in the field mapping UI. Which we'll explore. And of course, if anyone is following along and you have suggestions or options, I'm open. I have ears. They're open. Okay, have a separate lot discriminator picker outside of the field mapping UI. When a lot discriminator rule has been defined for the given template, I guess I should say store this rule separately in the user import template. Okay, when a lot discriminator rule has been defined for the given template, then we will set the lot field as an ignore field for the field mapper dialog. I mean, flag out. So yeah, so it just doesn't show up in this list. There are some ignore fields options that I can have on the data file mapper itself. So one of the parameters on data file mapper, when you are passing in the when you're setting the type is what I'm trying to say. When you're setting the type of data file mapper, because it goes to a t-target type, and that's the output type that you are expecting to map to using this entire UI, you can specify a list of ignore fields. The problem with that is when you use the ignore fields, not only does it remove it from here, but it will also remove it from your preview output. An example of that would be the selected field. If that is an ignore field, it's not even showing up in the output. So the only place that we would want it to be ignored is in that field mapping flyout. Okay. I'm sure that there would be a way. I'm sure that there would be a way that we can manipulate the ignore fields parameter on the data file mapper such that if the flyout is visible, which we have access to know if the flyout is visible, then the lot field is marked as an ignore field. If it is not visible, then the lot field is marked as or is removed from that ignore field list. Which means that if the preview table happens to be showing and you show the flyout and you're able to see, like you're scrolled over far enough to see lot, like this, and you open the flyout, lot will disappear while this window is open. Because the preview table will be like, oh, this is an ignored field, so it's not going to show. Another option is to update the option. Let's see. Another option is to update the core library to tell the preview table to show ignored fields via parameter. We could do that so that the output table always shows all the fields, even if they're ignored. That's an option. Another option is to have separate ignore fields for the preview table versus mappable fields. So what that would mean is instead of providing this ignore fields thing, we instead have a parameter called mappable field and have that be true unless we explicitly set it to false. So we have an ignore fields and we have a mappable fields potentially. Okay, so we're gonna run with that. I like this. It feels like a good way, and that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for my body to be like, yeah, this is a good approach. Let's try this. So we're gonna run and then trip and drag our face against the ground. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. So we're going to determine what do we want the mappable, not mappable, lookup discriminator selector to look like. I think that I would want it to be, no, because I want them to be able to access it regardless of whether the preview table is showing or not. It kind of makes sense to find a way to get it into the field mapper. But how? But how? All of this UI is coming from the core library, the separate NuGet package. So I don't have a way to manipulate that. We could make a render fragment that would be the template for how to display the destination columns names. So the property names in the field mapper. So a property name template. Property name template on the field mapper. Field mapper editor, I think, is the name of this component specifically. Yes. So that's one idea. There was something that I was just thinking about. A boat. What kind of boat were you thinking? We can use CSS. We can use CSS to hide the mapping type select and actually we'll just set it to ignore when we are specifying the mapping rule for lot, or we'll set it to constant value. We'll set it to constant value. That way we always have a valid value in lot. Yeah. Set the mapping rule for lot to constant value. I'm liking this. And then use CSS to hide the select. So when I say select, I mean the select element. When a lot discriminator rule has been set. Okay. Then how do we get a lot discriminator UI? Is there any possible way is we also have JavaScript to where we can add values to a select list. Problem is that the handler for that select list is here. Oh, but we're getting close. I feel that we are on the cusp of being able to add something here. So handle mapping rule changed. And just from my knowledge, am I manually placing the field mapper flyout anywhere? Or am I truly just using the data file mapper with the flyout? Because option number, what are we at? 70? Our next option would be that we still use this data file mapper, but in our, like this page even is probably where I would put it. We add the field mapper flyout here, or create our own field mapper editor that inherits from field mapper editor and wrap it in a flyout. Oh gosh, that one sounds too complicated. We're essentially we're swapping out the field mapper editor for our own field mapper editor. We could do that. That would make the library even more extensible. Okay, so all of the components in the well, I guess it's called data import utility.components project. So once again, this is open source. It's going to be available for anyone to contribute to. If I'm correct, the actual namespace is data import utility.components, and it is. And if you are interested in contributing to this, we work on it on Fridays during Community Day, but it's open source, and I think I'm accepting PRs and stuff now. I won't be able to spend a whole bunch of time, so your PR might not get answered or responded to right away, but I will look at it. But pretty much any component in here, what I would want to do is make a base component for everything. And so what we would start with is making a base component for the field mapper editor. Then we would be able to inject your implementation of the field mapper editor. Like by default, what it'll do is it will inject this implementation unless you specify your own. And I do have examples of that. So for example, the state that's being used throughout all of these components is typically injected, but it will look for a cascading value first. So if you provide a cascading parameter that is the state, it'll use that. If you inject your own state, it'll use that. If neither of those are present, then it will use its own cascading parameter for state. And the example of that is in the file picker component, which is a file import utility base, right? Okay, take me here. No, take me to the actual base class. Hello? How do I? Why? What's going on? Why did you change my view? I wanted to go to the base class. Yeah, and I really want it to be, again, highly extensible. Where you don't need to do anything to use it out of the box. You just say, I am referencing the NuGet package for the component library and or the core library. Only you use the core library directly in your app to specify your file and provide the field mappings and person drag and drops. And you do all of the field mapping yourself in code, and it's done. Set it once, it's done. You could use the component library to provide the UI for the user to be able to do the field mappings. So you can go as customizable as roll your own UI, substitute mapping rules, the logic for mapping rules yourself. So let's say you don't like my implementation of the copy rule. What I'm really wanting you to be able to do is implement the copy rules apply method the way that you want it to be implemented. And then now in this case, we're pretty much trying to, yeah, here it is. Okay. We're pretty much trying to abstract away all of the UI as well. Here's my stock UI. If you want, you can plug in your own UI for each individual part, the field mapper, the data file picker, the value transformation window itself. Aside from just being able to do CSS, you can also do things like swap out the entire component. So in this case, the field mapper editor base, the field mapper editor base would have a default implementation of field mapper editor.razor.cs that has all of this logic in it. A default rendering of the UI to look like this, but it'll be virtual and overwritable. I became a cloud architect yesterday. I made a function that does a thing. Confirmed. Cloud architect. Yes. Yes, TBD. I want to do this. I want to run with this. I know that I just keep adding work to myself, but this is the direction that I want to go. Let's start by trying to make a base field mapper editor. I keep stepping back further and further. We're just gonna play. That's the thing. We get to play. Right now, we could dang it. I was going to say right now we could just tell the users to keep an internal list of field of lot number mappings. So they get to just say, all right, we're on lot number AAAA for this batch analysis. Is it called analysis batch? Whatever it was called. And they keep that list themselves, but they make it a constant value, make sure that every single file that they upload only has one batch analysis batch, just for now. So we have a way to be able to set the lot numbers in an expected way and transfer that to whatever implementation we come up with. And of course, I'll do the work to be able to dump all of their manually tracked batch analysis number to lot number to the database and work with the application. Okay, so field mapper editor. We're going to create a field mapper editor base. Entity base. And that is going to be an abstract class base class for the field mapper editor components. So to start off, we need a branch. Wow, that just brought the changes over without asking me if I wanted to bring the changes over. I am going to use the same work item. Because when we do the PR, I will associate it with that work item. This is effort towards that work item, even though it's in a different repository. The boards in Azure DevOps can be referenced to each other from different projects. Okay, field mapper editor base. So you are now, which has to be a file utility component base. So that you can be a field mapper editor base. Okay, to get why did I lose that? I should not have. Because you aren't inheriting the same. Let's clear you out. Okay, you need to inherit the same base class. Good. Okay. Dang it. I wanted this to be a .razor file. We can't do base classes as a .razor file, right? I don't think we can. Oh, that's gonna suck. I'm gonna try anyway. Field mapper editor base .razor. Let's not do the CS class yet because we can just rename this one. Yeah, there it is. That doesn't make sense. No, uninitialized async should still be available because your base class is this file import utility component base, and file import utility component base has a base class of component base, which means that you should definitely be able to override uninitialized async. Oh, same deal. You need to inherit the same base class. And you need to be partial. I don't know what order those go in. Good. Is that really going to work? The reason that I wanted a .razor file for this base class is because I want a render fragment, virtual render fragment, virtual of render. That just says render. I'm getting excited. That's why I'm doing all of these typos. And I want that to be Razor syntax. And I can do that by taking all of the UI that I currently have in the mapper editor that's already implemented. Paste it in here, like so. Problem is that we have table. So we need another wrapper around this so that we don't lose context. It'll make sense. Just let me finish. Just let me finish. It'll make sense. Okay, so now we're just missing some parameters. We will grab the code block from Field Mapper Editor. Like so. That gives us those things. We need some using statements. And we need some code behind stuff. So again, the whole reason that this one is in here is because it is also a render fragment and I wanted to be able to use HTML. I wanted to use Razor syntax. So that's why it's staying in the code block. But for the code behind, we just grab all of this stuff. This is a citing. Okay, who is hangry? Mapping rule type. No. Why do I need to fully qualify you? Okay, so that gets rid of that. There's still errors. Not in selection. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to do a find. Okay, so there is a show configuration. Everything that we have as private is going to be protected so that the inheriting class can use it. But why aren't you resolving show configuration in mapper editor base? When it is sitting right here. We'll get XML on it in a second. All right, let's start with just getting these other imports. See if that's the issue. It's not. Summon a biscuit. And I'll eat it because I love biscuits. Where's my table? Ah, I see. Oh, could it be? I'm just doing some cleanup. I mean, I'm not sorry, but sorry anyway. Could it be that it just could not resolve this component? Yay! Haha! Okay, we have a base class. We should be, again, I'll add these comments here in a second. To a cited. We should be able to pretty much delete all of this. All of it. Every single bit of it. Yeah, what I'm going to do is delete this. And whatever we need, we can bring it back by copying it back over. Or just undoing stuff. So we delete that. Our field mapper editor is going to be replaced with base render. That's it. We'll get to how we can switch this out in a second, but that's going to be it. Might be able to even delete the code behind file. Let's see if this broke anything. And what this will allow me to do is to customize the field mapper editor content and during the process of which I will also separate out the individual parts. Like I already have the one render, which is render field picker. So that's already something that we can mark as virtual and protected. Field descriptors here. This is another thing that we could override. And so all of this stuff will now be customizable from whatever application is using this. We just need a way to be able to tell the library which version of Field Mapper Editor base we want to use. Cool. Okay, so here is our core library. That's exciting. Here is the data table. And now Field Mapper Editor looks different because the CSS is being applied to, summon a biscuit. The CSS is being applied to the top level. And what we actually need is, because this is a child component, it now needs to be applied to : deep. The problem is, how is it a child component? That's what the problem is. It shouldn't be a child component. We'll know if it's a child component if it has that Blazor attribute on it. This is the flyout wrapper. Yep, this is what I'm looking for. And it does. But is this because there is CSS being applied from another component? I think so. I think the CSS, that there is some CSS for this component in main layout. But let's just see what happens. We're gonna start easy. I'm gonna do the, yeah, exactly. I agree with you. But we're gonna try just doing at the root, because the reason that it feels different to me is because this component that we are looking at here is inheriting from a base component. And this is not really a child. This is just the output of a render fragment. But at the same time, the output of a render fragment could potentially be the child component. So entirely possible. It's possible for a plain yellow pumpkin to become a golden carriage. It's possible. Okay, so first thing I'm doing is naively just wrapping everything in : deep. And as Zaid was most likely pointing out, when you do have a child component in another component, you can't use : deep at the root to target child components. So for example, if I had a file, input file, for example, I wouldn't be able to style this in my code behind by simply targeting : deep and then whatever it resolves to. Input file. I don't know what it renders as, but this would not apply. I would need to wrap it inside of a container, which hopefully one day they'll change. Then : deep div input file will work. So we're going to try it without it, just because this is rendered within this component, even though it's not. And it's not doing a thing. But just to make sure, just to make sure, we're going to target. There is nothing that we can target from here. Just to make sure that it's updating, we're going to create a new element called Field Mapper Editor Wrapper. We already have a Field Mapper Wrapper, and that's what Dukasoft is dancing about. And we're going to just manually no, we're going to style this in here as display as position absolute, inset 0, background color pink, and kind of hard to tell. Did we get the HTML rendered? I don't see the field mapper editor wrapper. Okay, so it's entirely possible that we aren't even getting hot reload or CSS autosync. So before I go and try, because I made an error somewhere. Where did I make an error? Nowhere. It just couldn't apply the hot reload changes. Fine, fine. I needed to restart the app anyway. Okay, so there we go. We have our flyout with the styles that we added at the root level. We get rid of that. Then we still don't see the styles applied here, which most likely means we need yet another wrapper, aka yar. Spelled just like that too. Speaking of yar, I didn't get a notification or anything. Did Irish John start his stream? He hasn't, which is entirely okay. Even though no notes. Whatever. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. So we're still going to try to get this thing to get the styles, but this is going to be the last thing that I do for today. And the reason is because I want to start making it a habit to end around 1:15 instead of 1:30. So that's in 6 minutes. That gives me enough time to commit anything that I need to commit, do notes, do my work log, and submit my time card before the end of my workday. Because I usually spend an extra 15 to 20 minutes just doing that stuff. And I want to use that as billable hours and not stop my time. It's part of my workday. Dang it. I'm justifying it to myself, not to you guys. I have to justify it to myself. I have so many issues around making sure that I'm honest and have integrity and all of that stuff. And there we go. There's our styles. Okay, so Zaid was absolutely correct. It needed to be inside of a wrapper. Just note that if you're rendering something from render fragment, it's going to treat it as a child component. Good to know. That's really good news. The way that I am planning on swapping out which field mapper editor we use is going to be in the containers for the field mapper editors. And then I'm going to keep going all the way up. We're only going to do this part now, but the next step would be to swap out the container, which I'm calling wrappers. So for my field mapper flyout, instead of this being the field mapper editor here, I am going to ask for a cascading parameter field mapper editor, a dependency injected field mapper editor base, a dependency injected field mapper editor base. If none of those exist, then we'll default to the field mapper editor. How do we provide the parameters to our dependency injected field mapper editor? That's going to be another hurdle. That's going to be for another time. So at least you have the approach that I'm planning on taking, which again, try to get it from cascading value, try to get it from dependency injection, default to the internal field mapper editor. I'm going to write that down because I'm going to forget otherwise. Try to get field mapper editor base from DI, cascading value, and DI, DIA. If neither are found, then default to the mapper editor. Okay, that's going to be really fun though. If I can start hot swapping essentially UI components in a separate library, that's going to open up a lot for the way that I make libraries. It's like you like everything else about the library, but you absolutely hate this flyout option that I chose. Swap it out for something that you prefer. It's going to be great. This is really cool. I'm excited. I don't know if you could tell. That said, though, I am going to end my stream here. I'm going to update my time, commit these changes so that I can work on them over there. And we are going to... Oh, wow, he's still going. I have a feeling he's going to end soon, but we're going to raid over to Big Gamey. Here we go. Before he ends. Okay, so that's going to be it for my time. I will be back again on Friday at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, which is UTC-7 for Community Day. Then after Community Day, we'll do a regular workday stream. So we'll do Community Day for 2 hours. All right. I'm going to commit that. I'm going to push it to the server so that I have it available for the other computer. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Have tons and tons of fun, whatever you do. And the VOD for this is going to be posted to YouTube immediately after the stream. We have a Discord. If you're already a member of way too many Discords, definitely don't have to join, but you are very welcome to. We have a lot of really cool people there that we're all pretty judgy, but we don't do it in a character defeating way. We all have our opinions is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so ciao for now. See you the next time. Enjoy.